Whew. Hello, hello. So doing more reaction videos and from Let's Plays to politics in video games. So anybody who knows my channel and me, yeah, just like everything's basically political, even the ones, especially the ones that say that they're apolitical, taking some sort of stance on social media, not social media, social commentary, pop culture, right? Like the things that people use for entertainment, some sort of experience. They will have a message. The people who made them may try to pass along a message. They might not be trying, and it will still have something that you can then you take a stance on. Whether or not it encourages a viewpoint at large, right? The messaging that you're willing that of the messaging of things that are acceptable to even discuss the Overton window. The pictures are obviously Mr. House, is it? Oh god, a fake Fallout fan. It's like the specific name. I know he's House from New Vegas. So yeah, super political. Obviously, one of my pretty much my favorite Fallout game about like criticizing billionaires, governmental power structures, something there. I don't recognize the character on the left. It might be obviously like Soviet communism, socialist. He could be from Metro, could be from I don't know. I don't think Stalker. But I was, every time I see this happen, Bricky's videos, this is months ago. I meant to react to this, so striking while the iron is super cold. But I appreciate a video like this because there's so many. I mean, maybe I'm preempting. I'm hoping that he takes a stance about how important this is, about like the games that are woke and stuff like that that have since freaking 9 months ago. That still got here. It's maybe gotten worse probably. So yeah, just do you do you believe in a different, better world is possible? Do you question the status quo of what we have right now? Questioning what is possible. I'm interested in this guy's views. I believe I've seen videos suggested to me that imply this guy asks more questions about like again the woke stuff. Is this ridiculous? How right wing crazy shouldn't determine what gamers are identified as, right? Like, what is normal? So, yeah, Actman, good on you. Rather than staying like completely apolitical so that you don't scare off some portion of your audience. It's like, wait a second, he's making fun of me. I'm not gonna watch his ads or sponsorships or anything anymore, right? Just like that. That sort of like the algorithm and economics pushing content creators to be as milk toast boring and therefore accepting of that sort of insanity. Yeah, let's see what he does.
You ever hear someone say, all art is political, or every video game is political? Oh yeah? All video games have political undertones. Is that what you're trying to tell me? Okay, what about, I don't know, Tetris? Yeah, tell me how stacking blocks is political. Well, did you know that the creator of Tetris didn't actually earn a single cent until a decade after its release? Or should I say, he didn't make a single ruble because Alexei Pajitnov hailed from Russia, and Tetris was created under communism of the Soviet Union. That's right, in Soviet Russia, you don't make money from game. Soviet Russia make money from you. So in 1985, Microsoft, Atari, and Nintendo.
All right, interesting start there. Again, what is socialism or communism? Can people actually give a definition? Not even saying that I could give a perfect one, but the idea that yeah, you just point to anything in like Europe, any kind of social policy or safety net, and there are just as a ton of people that you could have an argument with online. Maybe they're bots, maybe not. That would just say, yeah, that's socialism, communism. Sure, profit motive, compensation. I mean, we could say the same about like insulin or whatever, as like, if you didn't profit from something, is this socialism, communism? And it's like, oh, well, I don't want to charge anything because I want insulin to be affordable and cheap for everybody until that thing is grabbed and it is then turned into a for-profit product. And so I don't know. I mean, yeah, the thing is, right? It's all relative politics about anything about like compensation. I would not run ads. I would disable everything, every monetizing thing if possible. If I didn't have to worry about paying rent or a place to live, then I don't need money. So then anything that I do, any jobs that I do, I wouldn't need compensation either. It's like, well, Martin, you'd be an idiot to work for free. It's like, yeah, but I'm not going to ask for money if it's not really asking that much of me. The example I use all the time is like, you would hold a door open for somebody if they have their arms full and you're just in front of them. I would charge somebody for it because it's not that much, and I like to help people. And I don't need to make money off of that until my cost of living is so ridiculous that I need that money to live so that I can continue to open doors for people, to be nice in public, to when you're not worried about your own survival, you are free to help others. All that from 44 seconds in.
We're all embroiled in a legal battle to acquire the rights to publish Tetris outside of the Soviet Union. 3 years later, what would become a timeless masterpiece and the best-selling video game of all time would come to the West. So, wait, is Tetris a political game? I mean, I'm confused. My brain hurts.
I mean, so if he's getting into that just on the Tetris thing, God, it's only been a couple more seconds. But I mean, yeah, that's what game development drama has been about. There's so much about like the cost of a game, because some of that money is supposed to go back to the developers, and then the developers pay everybody who was involved, the artist, whoever came up with the idea, sound design, right? Every single person, and hopefully those people can live comfortably so that they can continue to make more games and do more good work, right? That's the whole thing about compensation, so that they can keep going. And whether or not they break even, or they make more money so that they can make a bigger, better game later. But yeah, I mean, that's why I poke fun at like tycoon games and whatever, where they have no idea. They just they throw some random numbers about like how easy it is to start up a business, or how easy it is to start turning a profit, or if you need to do underhanded tactics to get in the black versus taking a loss or whatever, and whether or not you need help.
What the fuck is this doing here? Huh? I mean, help me out here. Is Tetris political?
The question, is this a political game,
Oh God, the fuck Call of Duty guys.
doesn't actually mean anything, because it's what does the word political mean to you?
Well, everyone's answer is going to be different. But if we want to be boring, the definition of politics is the activities associated with the governance of a country or other area. But in the realm of gaming, it feels like
Sure, I think, yeah, literally versus does the game like encourage, is it pushing you towards a message or something? I mean, I kind of brought it up earlier, but okay, if we're looking at The Last of Us, if Actman's going to go off of this, or maybe he's going to go between numerous clips, but I mean, yeah, Last of Us, I don't know if we'll get into specific like Israel-Palestine stuff. I think Neil Druckmann, is he Jewish? And like, there's things there. I don't know if I should get into just yet, but The Last of Us, oh shoot, well, I don't know, spoiler stuff, but I mean, they will ask, they ask you like trolley problem sort of things, like what if there's a greater good, do you focus on the greater good versus individuals? Is that selfish and stuff like that? Why would I, Martin Q, take a single sacrifice to save billions and billions of other people? And it's like, well, yeah, everybody else, if they learned about that, I'd look like an asshole. Not that every situation is going to require the most horrific sacrifice on my part, but I mean, you would kind of hope that's what a functioning society is about, trying to lessen suffering. Or yeah, how do this is me saying this without going into spoiler stuff. I don't know how much Actman's going to.
We hear a lot of keep politics out of video games. Stop politicizing video games.
A single black or trans person, whatever, non-white person appears in a game and it's woke.
Hey, who made those videos? In the realm of gaming, political could be a story that revolves around politics or identity politics. The depiction of world leaders, sometimes getting their heads blown off. That's fun. Can't imagine why Cuba was mad about that one. Politics in video games could be any number of things. Political parties that are represented in game, or fictional governments that might bear a resemblance to something in the real world. Politics could even apply to our favorite friend over here. Yes, Mr. Lootbox. Do you think if I open...
Yes, monetization. Why? I just wonder why. People care about the socioeconomics of such a system and preying on gamblers and addiction.
enough of these, I'll unlock some government regulations that prevent promoting gambling to children? Only time will tell.
Oh, how dare the government?
And this topic can cover everything from culture wars past and present, how games and their stories are interpreted to promote a particular message. Is that message worth promoting? Should games have a message? Which ones? How do you tell? What's up, everybody? This is the Act Man here, and today we're discussing what should the role of politics be in video games, within the confines of a game itself, and within the culture of the studio that creates it. When does politics or political messaging improve a game, and when does it make it worse? Is it about the message or its delivery? How can you tell the difference? Is all media political? Are you fucking bored yet? This is a massive topic to deconstruct, and I think I know just where to start. So there's this game called Sex with Hitler, right? And it... No, don't go. Wait. I was just kidding. All right. So in Sex with Hitler, Hitler is portrayed as having 2 testicles when historians actually debate this. Why are you leaving? By portraying Hitler with 2 testicles, fans were upset. All right. Politics and video games, best place to start. So there's this game called Sex with Stalin. In the past, on this channel, we've covered how games have been politicized and criticized by various viewpoints and groups. They're too violent.
He was trained to kill with Call of Duty and other video games.
Shut your bitch ass up!
Hey, don't you dare play that Resident Evil 5, you racist.
There is only one acceptable response to a white man shooting waves of Africans for an entire video game. No.
It's in Africa.
But whenever video games are blamed for some societal woe, it's usually a desperate tactic to shift the blame away from whatever the real issue is. And today we're going to do something different. We're going to discuss politics in video games. That's right. But let's go back to Tetris real quick, because none of the game's history or involvement in politics affected how fun Tetris was. Clearly, this was a game that transcended nationalities. Many of you likely never considered if Tetris was political, because that sounds really fucking stupid. On paper, we can't say every video game is political, but you can find deeper meaning in something if you look hard enough, and Tetris is proof of that.
Sure. Okay, well, whatever he's about to do with Tetris, I mean, this is why I bring up a common one would be games that have survival mechanics and all that, where you are on a timer, and it's like food, usually like thirst, hunger, sleep, right? Something like that, where you need to satisfy your basic needs, or it will start debuffing you, or maybe you just start taking damage, or you might die, and all that. And it's just, yeah, like if that could literally be seen as like a developer or something feeling that in that timer about like, you must make enough profit, you must have these resources to continue living, or you die and then you can't do this anymore. And so, I mean, yeah, it's right there in the game. And a lot of people would, depending on how it's balanced, get pissed off, understandably so, at some of the games when they're tweaked a little high, where it's like, I can't do anything except try to fill up these bars to try to live, and I never get to have time for fun or the actual thing. And it's like yes, so it's almost like we could be asking that of our normal lives, where you're just burnt out and tired from work and survival, so you don't never get to ascend up through the pyramid, the hierarchy of needs, to get satisfied with your life instead of just surviving day to day. But yeah, sure, let's see where he goes with Tetris or whatever.
Like, did you notice the Moscow Kremlin at the start screen? How the fuck did I never see that before? With that being said, doesn't it seem like an injustice that Alexei was never properly rewarded for his innovation? One could look at this story and come to the conclusion that, well, communism has some issues.
You don't say!
While there are no overt political messages in Tetris, like BioShock or Deus Ex, it still serves as a... Wait. Tetris. Blocks. In a communist society, we're all just building blocks, pieces of a greater whole, if you will. We have no power or agency on our own, and it's like we're controlled by some mysterious force that forces us down. And it's only when all the pieces work together as a commune that any progress is made, that we have any value. One block out of place and the whole thing crumbles. Tetris is a game about falling in line. Get back to work. I think this type of analysis is part of the fun of what we do here on YouTube. Why do you think the Game Theorists is a channel that's gotten so popular over the years? I miss Matt. A lot of this stuff comes down to interpretation. I look at this guy from Ace Attorney Spirit of Justice. You know what his name is? Paul Attishin. Wait, keep politics out of my Ace Attorney games.
Politics, how tiresome.
That's why they call him the Prophet of Truth, because that's all he spits. You know, sometimes politics can add a whole new dimension and level of intrigue to an existing universe. In Halo 2, I honestly wish we got to explore more of High Charity before it's taken over by the Flood. This gigantic mushroom-shaped space station where a conglomerate of alien races all work together. It's kind of interesting that you see these like elite congressmen in the stands at the start, and then later on they're fighting in the Civil War. How did all these alien races come to work together? Why are the brutes suddenly shaking things up? Tell me more about the Grunt Rebellion.
The taming of the hunters, the Grunt Rebellion. Were it not for the Arbiters, the Covenant would have broken long ago.
The politics of the prophets in Halo 2 and their quest for power and dominance through religious dogma is the driving force of Halo.
So, I mean, yeah, this is why, you cannot really get past something that has like a strong story, usually has some sort of deeper political meaning, because, yeah, they usually are inspired by real world events, or the way that maybe the writers believe that this sort of thing should work, and they're trying to build their own universe. And yeah, like, so a sci-fi one, like, what does a rebellion look like? They're trying to give meaning to something that might just be an opponent that you otherwise just shoot. And if you don't give a good reason, it's all going to come across as hollow. This is kind of why I was criticizing Dispatch. It's still fun, but there were times where, like, oh, okay, whether or not you have a sympathetic villain, something that's understandable, versus like, oh no, I'm just crazy, I'm here to destroy the world, or there's not a good enough explanation for why somebody's doing the things they're doing, whether or not they're on your side in the game, or you're fighting against them.
At least the plot, and it's the basis for their great journey. So exploring the politics of the Covenant leadership objectively deepened the lore of the Halo series, and was a net positive. It also led to some of the best fucking drama and dialogue you've ever heard.
Tartarus, the prophets have betrayed us.
But you know, Nintendo doesn't really do political games, do they? Right, Reggie?
Making political statements are for other people to do. We want people to smile and have fun when they play our games.
And he's right. Games don't have to make a statement, nor should every game be expected to. Although, Super Mario Sunshine has quite the statement to make about climate change if you really think about it. There used to be more sunshine, and now we have all the...
Yeah, it's, again, making a statement as you're apolitical. There are games where the story is you're Mario rescuing a princess, but, like, again, is Bowser just evil? Does he have an understandable goal? It's not about, and again, not just the kidnapping aspect, but like games like Mario versus Bowser, or game like my personal favorite is Star Fox 64, about like you are fighting against an emperor. Somebody who's conquering planets, so then yeah, that is inherent to it. Like, is he conquering for territory, the resources, right? It's, if it goes anywhere other than just like, I do it just because, and stuff like that, because evil, so you're like a freedom fighter, or you're trying to liberate, you are the good guys or something. They were unlawfully conquered. What is the will of the inhabitants of a planet and stuff like that? You can't. All right. And if it's like Star Fox based on like Star Wars, or something. Yeah, you get these space operas. There are politics still involved. You don't escape it just by easy black and white good guy, bad guy.
There's goop everywhere. Fucking Bowser and his dumb amusement park polluting the sky with greenhouse gases. Why is the government of Isle Delfino arresting Mario and not Bowser? What the fuck is this, kangaroo court? Is this really the best place to go on vacation? Okay, I'm sorry. But when making a game about war, specifically modern warfare, are the creators obligated to include some kind of message or theme? No! Nope. Just follow your path.
Good soldiers just follow orders. Mow down the working class or whoever the poor people are who've been conscripted. Murder waves upon waves upon waves. Never ever question the higher ups, the old politicians giving orders greedily. Is this a just war? Who gets to throw around people's lives? Billions of dollars to the military.
Passions. Make what you want and what's most entertaining. But if you're gonna cover like real history, you gotta try to respect that. The cold hard truth is that I don't give a shit whether or not a game has something to say, as long as that is part of the entertainment. If it detracts from that and I'm being lectured, then I tune out. Call of Duty has always been controversial for its ruthless depiction of war, politics, and you know what? Sometimes America is the bad guy. Or at least that bad guy is American. I think General Shepard is one of the greatest villains the series has offered. But while Modern Warfare 2 got loads of flack for some reason, I can't remember why, the Modern Warfare reboot of 2019 was controversial, ironically, because it wasn't political enough. They were taking so much heat, the developers at Infinity Ward had to make a statement about it.
Are we telling a story that has anything to do with the specific governments of any countries that we are portraying? No.
But critics felt the game purposely hid the US's involvement in the Highway of Death mission, an event where during the Gulf War the US bombed retreating Iraqi soldiers and civilians. But you know, it's a video game and we want to sell this to Americans, so let's just say the Russians did it. You guys hate the Russians, don't you? See, I have a problem.
Yeah, I mean, this is why, like, you just find a rotating bad guy of Russians, so now it's Middle Easterns or whatever, and yeah, this is some basic level of honesty that you would want to ask, but that's whatever. These corporations, the target demographics, anything that hurts the profitability, and the Americans who don't ever want to be depicted as the bad guys, never question their perfect empire. That's the frustration of being a leftist in the US and online.
With including a mission that's based on a real event and then trying to sanitize it. It seemed like Infinity Ward wanted to avoid portraying the, shall we say, questionable things the United States did during the Gulf War. And I don't know about you, but it always pisses me off when Call of Duty just is clearly pulling punches and trying to give us some pussy-ass version of war. I shot at the Nazi, that is my plan. Let's go save the Jews, guys, hooray! Speaking of, who could forget playing as my team in Call of Duty Vanguard and fighting who? The enemy team. God.
Grandpa, can you tell me about your team? How you fought for your team in World War II? Yes, my team. Look at my glorious team.
No real world military factions here, people. It's too offensive. All right. Would you like to open some loot boxes on the beaches of Normandy like your forefathers? As the series seems to continue losing respect for real military conflicts and portraying them as accurately as they can, I too have a declining respect for Call of Duty. Call of Duty fans don't agree on much, but one thing we all agree on is that COD 4 was probably the best. And comparing it to the Modern Warfare remake, COD 4 was way more nuanced. And they intentionally avoided naming real-world countries or people because all they wanted to do at the end of the day was take the style of World War II shooter they had and change it to a modern setting. Even though COD 4 reflects real-world events, it's up to each individual player to interpret what those might mean. But there's clearly no direct political statement preached to the player. It's just pure FPS, solid entertainment. And it depicts modern warfare in a more ambiguous way. Call of Duty 4 was political by nature, not by design, and that's a huge difference that a lot of people don't talk about. What's another good example? World
I mean, I kind of see where he's going there, although I think, gosh, maybe I should have paused it there. Just like, if you see a name like Zakharov or whatever, then it's already, again, like Russia, which I know that there's a lot of stuff going on with them, but that is like still, it's still like based on some reality. It's hard to just completely fabricate like a new name that has no attachment to the real world. But you know, fine.
World at War. Call of Duty World at War is fucking awesome. It's a masterpiece, but its politics are very far divorced from our current timeline. At least I think they are. So nothing is really controversial about its portrayal of World War II and the horrors that lay within. I think the game is as historically accurate as it can be, and it pulls no punches. World at War starts and ends with the statement it has to make. World War II was fucked up. That's it. We know who the bad guys are. However, while they show the bloodlust, vengeance, and hatred of the Russian people through Reznov, Treyarch did something interesting. They added a character that showed a side of mercy, portraying World War II with more moral complexity than many other World War II games.
Chernov! I am not hearing gunshots!
There is no point, Sergeant. They are already bleeding to death.
Then maybe our friend will help them bleed faster.
The Nazis are bad, but are we going too far type shit. That's why Chernov and Reznov act as your moral guidance through the Russian side of the campaign. And the decision is on the player on whether they carry out Reznov's vengeance or embrace Chernov's mercy. And you get slightly different monologues from Chernov's journal depending on your choices.
His bravery on the battlefield is beyond question, but he has also shown mercy amidst the brutality of the Red Army. His merciless brutality defines him only as a savage, just like the rest of the Red Army.
Now, as an American,
boy, oh boy, I mean, we are dealing with a lot of neo-Nazis in the US right now, but sure, I guess maybe we're too harsh sometimes. Like, okay. I don't know, guys. I think we're a little too mean to the billionaires that are killing us. You know, no more United Healthcare situations, please. Let's just keep asking nicely, all right? Oh, we're already winning so hard, guys. Yeah, I get what he's trying to say. It's just in context with what's going on. It's like, we're still trying to punch up. This is, yeah. When are you really like you're winning so hard that we need to back off? It's like,
we all learn about in school how communism is, well, kind of bad, which it is, but it's interesting then that between the...
I'm so glad we have capitalism, which is so good, and there are no problems whatsoever. No criticizing, because that's also, you're a bot. Okay.
The American and Russian campaigns of World at War, American fans overwhelmingly prefer the Russian side. Reznov is just the coolest for starters, and he's in Black Ops 1, but more than...
Oh, so that's the guy who's on the left, so, all right.
Than that, the story where communism wins and the Soviet flag is hoisted atop the Reichstag is portrayed so fucking well, it makes you patriotic for a foreign country that doesn't even exist anymore.
As long as...
Yeah, meanwhile, under capitalism, boy oh boy, we have all of our politicians worshiping Israel, pledging loyalty there. Yeah, how's that profit-based, money rules everything, corrupting your representatives? How's that working out? System based on money, more power and influence concentrated in the hands of a few.
The heart of this army can never be broken.
That is the power of storytelling. I'm convinced the only thing art needs to do is either entertain or enlighten or both. And World at War does both and seeks only to portray World War II in the dark, gritty, morally complex time that it was. And it did so
so complex, guys. It's just, you could root for either side if you really, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess I should have expected this, and all that, just what it's not like he's not like he's categorized communism or he's not explained it more, because yeah, like maybe people should have housing and not be homeless or something. Just yeah, I don't know. We're not gonna nail him down on that. Just fine.
With resounding fucking success. Some games.
Sorry, I don't know. Just because like, oh, just because the shooter aspect of it was fun, it's like, yeah, warfare is like a tiny part of sociopolitics. It's important, life or death. But like, yeah, you know what else is life or death? Again, like, what is your country's policy on like homelessness, starvation, education, the cost of living, money, and stuff? That's why like United Healthcare is important. All that. It's just like people uniting, you know, pun unintended, over like healthcare, because people aren't getting shot or stabbed, but somebody's paperwork and the money involved is determining whether or not people live or die. And yeah, it doesn't have to be war to do that. That's why, like, yeah, like him talking about like the fun they had in the campaign, it's like, okay, the politics is a little bit more than that, but because he said he's trying to limit it to what's in the games, fine. Then the shooting and a couple of like journal entries is as deep as it gets there. Okay, that's not the whole ideology.
Outright promote an ideology. Others avoid talking about that shit at all. And very few games make it their mission to critique a specific ideology.
Right, I don't know if he's gonna get into Disco Elysium or something, but okay. But yeah, I wonder.
Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to introduce the man of the hour, Andrew Ryan, who is here to ask.
Oh, okay. So he's probably gonna. So as far as I can tell, I haven't played BioShock myself, but yeah, if he's gonna get into it, then it's gonna be about like Ayn Rand libertarianism or whatever. It's like an offshoot of capitalism or whatever. Just like individual responsibility and whatever your wealth and power is able to do.
Ask a question.
Is a man not entitled to the sweat of his brow?
BioShock is unequivocally one of the greatest FPS games of all time. The concept and art direction alone it's just fucking perfect. They really got to make a TV series or movie out of it. This is quite literally the game that started the debate on whether video games could be called art. Personally, I think the conversation should have started with Halo 2, but that's just me. BioShock is in fact a direct response to the novel Atlas Shrugged by Ayn Rand. Now, in the book, the United States has become a dystopian hellhole burdened by endless laws and regulations that restrict people's ability to be entitled to the sweat of their brow.
Too much regulation, big government, how dare they tell you not to drink and drive or wear a seatbelt or what the age of consent or something, minimum wages, too much.
Book discusses the morality of pursuing your own self-interest, and it's a rejection of altruism, helping others in need instead of only looking out for your self-interests. Ayn Rand promotes the idea that capitalism, when taken to its most extreme, is the ultimate system of freedom and productivity. Regulations and wealth distribution are forces that restrict the most gifted minds and their ability to innovate in our society. Ayn Rand asserts that it is these great minds in society that keep it moving.
Yeah, meanwhile, in the real world, how are those tech bros and billionaires doing right now? Oh, no. But Elon Musk, no, he's like Tony Stark, oh no.
The innovators, the intellectuals, and entrepreneurs. And if their talents are restricted, society crumbles because so much hinges on the intellect and mind of so few. Her ultimate point was that when individuals are allowed to pursue success without any restrictions, regulation, or government interference, society thrives. And that's exactly what happened in Rapture. So Ken Levine, director of BioShock, looked at Ayn Rand's argument and said, I bet. Let's put your theory to the test. Let's see if this works. Spoilers for BioShock, it did not work.
These sad saps. They come to Rapture thinking they're gonna be captains of industry. But they all forget that somebody's gotta scrub the toilets. What an angle they gave me. I hand these mugs a cot and a bowl of soup, and they give me their lives.
We all know what happened in Rapture. They find a magic sea slug that gives them superpowers through a genetic substance known as Adam, but then they all get addicted. The sea slugs are limited, so some genius German scientist is like, hey, wait a minute, we can just put the slugs in orphan girls and they'll continually produce this miracle drug, and they'll be able to recycle it. And oh, by the way, Little Sisters were a metaphor for stem cell research and the morality of, you know, using unborn fetuses in scientific experiments. Now, it's one thing to agree or disagree with either Ayn Rand or BioShock, but the whole point is like understanding what things mean. And much like Tetris, without knowing the political inspiration for BioShock's story and universe, you can still enjoy it like any other game and be totally immersed and enraptured in the world of Rapture. The Little Sisters could be an explicit critique of Ayn Rand and saying, okay, BioShock suggests that in Ayn Rand's worldview, even orphan children would be a commodity. Let's make
Again, under capitalism, everything's a commodity. Yeah, the children, we're going to talk about the Epstein list or whatever, just those with wealth and power. Okay, sure. It's only, see, there are people who will see a story like this, and even then it's like, oh, well, it's because it was taken to the extreme, but capitalism still is super great. Yeah, they would never let it get this far. Haha.
money off of those suckers. One could also look at that incredible moment where you first walk into the lighthouse and you see no gods or kings, only man. Rapture is a godless city, devoid of religion and faith. And
see, and yeah, it's just like with the whole like neo-Nazi thing. Just because they don't look like like what the Nazis did and stuff, like does fascism arrive? No gods or kings, only man. Yeah, and that's the whole point of authoritarianism or whatever. There are power structures within your society that you don't have to literally call them a god or a king, and with enough wealth and influence, a person, a man, a human, will take that role. They have that much influence, that much control over you. And now I'm not talking about stupid government regulations, even though yes, that can happen. But yeah, you do have like a handful of these billionaires, these corporations that are deciding our lives for us. And what a society should be is like people who agree on like, hey, these are some decent standards that we should keep. Sure, that's control, in the same level of control that you would have in taking care of a child, where you say, hey, you can't just have cookies and desserts for every single meal, that sort of thing, right? You are controlling them, but because you actually know that there is some good that you're trying to steer people towards when they legitimately don't know. You don't see that they can regulate themselves properly, and you know, on an individual scale, that's hard. That's why you view things on a societal scale, and you can do that a little better without losing sight of things.
That's designed by intent, so there's no accountability from the man upstairs. As history and also Halo 2 have shown, religion can obviously be involved in politics. So when taking that out of the equation of society, do our values also degenerate? Now, the neat part about BioShock is obviously the ultimate twist, but throughout the game, you basically learn that you have had no free will. You've just been directed by code phrases, by this mysterious voice over the radio, like so many other games.
Would you kindly get this? Would you kindly find that? Would you kindly find that? Would you kindly get this? Would you kindly head to Ryan's office and kill the son of a bitch?
And that you never had free will. Well, except for one choice. The Little Sisters present the ultimate question of BioShock. Do you harvest Adam from the Little Sisters for your own self-interest? Do you end their suffering, or do you act altruistically and with empathy and save them? Do you, as the player, take what you can and give nothing back, or give something back and accept what you're given? These are powerful questions, I think. Now, here's the thing.
Sure, I mean, yeah, there's a level of games gauging empathy, power dynamics, right? Like if you just need to min-max, if you just need to survive, and you take any power that's given to you to make that experience a little easier, versus like suffering human cost, atrocities, or something like that, then yeah, you can get a decent gauge of players like that. I think some games like Undertale, right? There are games that involve some sort of like meta thing about like you don't have to kill, you don't need combat, you don't need to solve things with violence, you don't need to brute force this thing, or right, there are alternate paths in this RPG sort of deal. And yeah, sometimes it's meta in that it makes something easier, or is it asking for a time investment and the player just doesn't care, right? Is the player forced into it? Something like Darkest Dungeon even, or Frostpunk, where it's like, do you just sacrifice whenever just to make things fast and easy and convenient? Or it's like, nope, you can actually win Frostpunk without doing something super monstrous. You just need to take care of people the right way. That sort of thing.
I've noticed in the gaming zeitgeist, there's this like weird fixation on only enjoying media that validates your own beliefs. And truth be told, I've never popped in a game and been like, yeah, oh, BioShock, I sure hope this is a critique of late-stage capitalism and how society needs social programs to help the less fortunate. Who the fuck thinks like that, dog? Just played a game where you beat up and shoot the mutated scuba divers. Even if BioShock has a message that you ultimately disagree with, the game is still fun as shit, and you don't have to think about that. If you look for political messaging, you can always find it, and if you can't find it, you can just come up with some bullshit. I think what BioShock does a really good job of is showing that a utopia of the best and brightest people making up society would not work, because the best and brightest people are not going to want to do the dirty blue-collar work that's necessary to keep the gears greased, the water flowing, you know, that guy that fixes the pipes and makes sure this whole place doesn't get fucking flooded. Yeah, you kind of need him in society, because this death trap of a city was built underwater. Why? Did Andrew Ryan know that people can't breathe underwater? Was he stupid? There's tons.
And then, Titan sub joke? So, sure.
There's a debate to be had about, you know, the themes of BioShock. One thing that's interesting is the idea of a utopia with ultimate freedom for all ultimately can't work. Such a society is ripe for exploitation and corruption, as there are no guardrails in place to stop the main villain, Frank Fontaine. Andrew Ryan could not control or contain Fontaine without violating his own beliefs and yanking the great chain his way. So in essence, Andrew Ryan becomes the very thing he sought to leave. Regardless, I think BioShock represents politics in video games at its best, or near it. When we have something to talk about and debate, ideas and concepts to share with one another, that's when video games turn into like a fucking book club, right? BioShock 1 has one of the greatest video game stories of all time, and none of it would have been possible without political inspiration from the real world. It posed an interesting question of morality to the player. And then you had BioShock Infinite, which offered such thrilling and complex choices as be racist or not. But now let's take a look at an example where politics detracts from the experience, pulls people out of it. Dragon Age the Veilguard.
If you come across as preaching your political agenda, you're going to alienate everybody who doesn't agree with you.
About as true a statement as one could possibly say. But it's the explanation for why BioShock gets away with being explicitly political and Dragon Age the Veilguard doesn't. It's because there is no deeper meaning to analyze behind Veilguard. The characters just straight up tell you the point they want you to take away from everything. You see, the novel Atlas Shrugged and
so I don't know enough about Veilguard or whatever drama was probably going on with it, but then like sure, if this is getting into like art is up to interpretation and the each person that perceives it, which is, yeah, it's kind of a problem. Then like, do you go more subtle with it? Because the amount of times that people will interpret it wrongly, they miss the point entirely. Then it, like, fine, I guess you could be okay with that. So, but I get why people would want to make a stand boldly and there is no confusion on the matter, like to avoid that entirely, so that everybody then contributes to some sort of discussion and overall community thing. But then, yeah, I get that it becomes preachy and it starts to take away your immersion and stuff like that. And there's little to no more. Once there is no more guesswork and the player isn't asked to think about it because there is no more to think about, it was explicitly said. Then, yeah, I get like that makes it worse in other ways. So, I don't know. I just hate that. We could talk about like Warhammer 40k, or Helldivers 2, a Helldivers series that I've enjoyed. About like, again, when you're satirizing and when you don't say it, then you will get people who unironically, it's like, I actually love this. I love fascism. I love destroying everything, humanity first, and then they don't think about racism or when somebody's dehumanized to be seen as that alien race to destroy or whatever, right? That's the unfortunate part when you don't make it clear. But I get why you don't. But now you have some of the actual drama when there are neo-Nazis that are in your community, and you better take some stand and not just like, oh, well, they're here. There are loyal customers.
The whole time period of BioShock takes place in the far distant past, but a fictional version, a believable version. So when you're trying to breach the idea of covering identity politics in a medieval fantasy game, you have to hide that a bit. Recently, EA CEO Andrew Wilson, Mr. Is This Good for the Player, came out and said that Veilguard, quote, failed to resonate with a broad audience. Why do they always fucking say that? Like, can we stop? I always feel like the implication behind broad audience is we don't have enough money. We're not making enough money. But Andrew Wilson believed that Veilguard failed because it didn't have live service features. Everyone knows BioWare and live service go hand in hand like peanut butter and jelly. Now, there's several reasons why Veilguard didn't appeal to that mythical broad audience: corporate meddling, a bizarre rebrand late in development, the 10-year gap between Inquisition not being relevant, BioWare's slow, declining overall reputation, the ongoing layoffs across the industry. But in the focus of this video, we're talking about the writing. BioWare is no stranger to writing games with a diverse cast, who represent different worldviews, religious orders, and parts of these fictional universes. So why is politics now suddenly a problem in Veilguard? Because it's written like dog shit.
It's the biggest piece of dog shit.
The way to get audiences to think about complex social issues is not to just beat them over the head with the point. Like, they have a fucking coming out part where Tosh just straight up says, I'm non-binary. You'd think being part of some fictional fantastical race known as the Kunari who speak a different language that they would have some kind of different foreign term for that, but no, just straight up non-binary. Oh, that's what they're going for. That's what they're doing. It's clear what the goal of the writers are, and there's nothing for us to interpret about it. It's so ham-fisted, right? And in Dragon Age Origins, you can kill every single one of your companions. Every single one. You hate one of them, tell them to fuck off. But in Veilguard, party members are like unanimous in agreement that, well, hey, guys, don't be transphobic. Being transphobic is part of the problem. When really it should be up to the player's choice if they want to recruit this companion and how they want to treat them. In RPGs where you recruit a group of companions, there should always be at least one racist. Give me some fucking drama. People in the real world have racial tensions and...
Sure, I could... So I don't play enough Mass Effect or Dragon Age and all that, but... So, I mean... But sure, the idea of incompatible party members, like, on the one hand, there's an air of, oh, let's work with the Nazis and reach across the aisle and redeem every enemy and stuff like that. But I do get if it actually becomes a plot point that where the incompatibilities escalate to the point of like, and we're in open conflict, these people leave forever and they don't come back, that is a more immersive depiction of like how about like burnt bridges, connections that you cannot mend, or what you will and will not tolerate. So So I mean, I get why it would be interesting to see which players, end up siding with one or the other, and seeing the consequences of that, or if players try to play centrist to try to please everybody and then please nobody, right? It's up to the developers to show whether that has another effect where like everyone is pissed at you because now you're a fence sitter, you have no values and stuff like that. You're just saying whatever you think people want you to want to hear, whatever you think they want to hear. You don't actually believe in them. You're not on anyone's side. So why would they trust you, right? It's up to the game to do that, or if they somehow try to reward that as if they were like enlightened centrists. Like, see, isn't everybody happy when you just don't pick sides ever? It's so reliable. But yeah, I don't know if I heard about this drama in particular, but Veilguard does ring a bell.
Therefore, why would the same not apply to a fictional fantasy realm? Because discrimination might make people uncomfortable, even though it's realistic. And let's not pretend like the idea of some character that breaks gender norms is like inherently a bad thing. You don't have to look far in film and video games to see a deep admiration and reverence for female characters that break typical gender norms and embrace the role typically reserved for masculine men. If your goal is to tackle identity politics and inclusion in video games, or really any issue for that matter, then as Kreia said,
then you will need the contrast.
You will need characters who despise this person's identity and what they stand for, and you, the player, should be given
yeah, on that note, all right, I kind of forgotten about like not so much the whole like you need to form a team of the most hateful people and work with them, but the idea that it's unanimous, that's a little too optimistic. This is actually my issue I have with like toxic positivity, where they don't depict realistic conflict. Because it would almost never be that easy. And it, in a way, it provides unrealistic hope. That's actually my problem with certain, kinds of like different shows, games, and stuff like that, where the conflict is non-existent. There's like a perfect support system. That's not what an unequal, inequitable society of power dynamics and stuff would be like. Right, because you can't solve a problem if you pretend it isn't there. So it would feel odd that you are mandated to be supportive. I guess if that line you said earlier about like, oh yeah, everybody automatically supports it. It's like that's great, but now there's you're not actually addressing it. It's like it's a depiction of the perfect world. And how would you get there? Right. So, I mean, I can't do a deep dive on it without it spiraling out of control. But it would be like My Hero Academia, which has its issues, but I feel like there are plenty of settings where instead of just like superpowers appear and stuff, you have to actually question what kind of like regulations would happen, what kind of response there would be from various groups and stuff like that. It's instead of it just being like, and then it just happens, and there are no problems, we just love this now. It's like that's not as compelling.
Options to talk shit to them, as opposed to every single party member in complete agreement that, hey, discrimination is bad. We see this in Origins, right? The Kunari are basically a society of what it would look like if communism worked. Everyone's inspected at birth, they're given their role at birth, their role is their name. So what you have in Origins...
Again, this is super vague, whatever his idea of communism is. What if it worked? Okay. The implications of picking your side, but sure, okay.
Is this clashing of beliefs and cultures. Sten comes from the Kunari, where women are artisans and merchants, not warriors, but every female companion can talk to Sten about this. And they don't just say, wow, Sten, you're sexist. No, they say, I can fucking fend for myself. So the game is not telling you what to think or believe or who to agree with or disagree with. Both characters are making their respective points, and it's up to you to decide who makes more sense. That's how it should be. But if this were Veilguard, they would just accost Sten and be like, Pulabov, you did a sexism. So now I want to talk about the trick to writing politics in video games, because it is a magic trick, and there's no better source to go to than Chris Avalon. One of the
I was debating whether or not I get into it, but I mean, sure, that there's like a tiny, the whole like whatever, misogyny, women's roles, obviously gender dynamics, but the point to be made is like, yeah, you don't just get to do girl boss and pure equality without some deeper discussion on like pros and cons, because like if this, like, just going off of the RPG party that he was bringing up there, the idea of like, oh, women should be warriors, equality and stuff like that, it's like, if you want girl boss women action scenes, you should also be willing to see women get hurt. And that's where you get into the whole like, oh, I don't want to see that. It's like, you are demanding that by having your women be fighters. And right, if we're getting into like, oh, well, war is a failure of diplomacy, and by the time it's gotten there, that means so many other things must have failed. And the idea that people want, I mean, yeah, and I have to add the disclaimer about like, do not get into actual misogyny, inceldom, or whatever, women go back to the kitchen sort of thing. But it's like, but you do not demand women be in these roles, and then you don't like it when they're hurt, because that is what a warrior would do. Yeah, without like reducing somebody, like the only role that you can play is cooking and child rearing, that you only function as baby makers and you have no other value, in the same way that you would reverse it, like, are men only soldiers and not able to do domestic life as well? What is their value? You get into like eugenics almost, with like, well, because of the muscle mass and fighting and strength and stuff like that, versus saying that is the only thing you can do ever. Yeah, I just see it way too often. There are so many shows where women get their badass moment, but if they are ever hurt, children too, it's like, do you like child soldiers? And it's a lot of it is anime, because teenagers, whatever, you got to save the world. But then when people are shocked because the woman or the child teenage soldier warrior is hurt, it's like, yeah, you were just cheering this on. You don't want them there because this can happen. Yeah, that is a pet peeve of mine. I mean, just, that's some leftist equality sort of thing. Like, I don't like seeing, this is why I don't like seeing and needless suffering in any game where I control, when I'm like managing or whatever, Darkest Dungeon, a lot of men. I don't want to see men hurt either in this horrific warfare or whatever kinds of games, because I don't like the needless suffering. It's like, if that's the only way you can get something done, and you need to, and they're like, yeah, women, children, whatever the story and gameplay mechanics involve, it's like, to see people do that and then they don't care when men are thrown into like a meat grinder for their righteous war or something. Like, there better be good politics to explain how this all happened. Anyways,
main writers for two of my favorite games of all time, Knights of the Old Republic 2, Fallout New Vegas, and several others.
Oh, right, yeah. It's like he's mentioned Chris Avalon, probably like Obsidian, better political intrigue and nuance for the most part. Still, yeah. Not perfect, but I mean, that's a lot of the games that are allowed to be published. That's why I bring up like Invincible or whatever, and the amount of stories in games where you actually overthrow the rich, the powerful, and reset a status quo, you don't usually get to.
This is what he said in an article titled, "Can Stories Be Apolitical?" He says, quote, "They may become political as societal norms change, but I believe it's possible to do apolitical games. I also don't condemn developers who want to do political games or make a statement. I think a game is served better by asking a question, provide a range of perspectives on the question, but then leaving the answer to the player. I try to frame any politics in the parameters of the world, the lore, and the franchise. This is what Veilguard does not do. It frames it within the context of our modern real society, not that of Dragon Age." Chris goes on to say, the reason I take this approach is because I view games as entertainment. If you're purposely pushing an agenda or point of view in your game, especially a real world one that's clearly divorced from the game world, and you're dictating that perspective as correct versus asking a question or examining the perspective more broadly, then it's left the gaming realm and the game has become a pulpit. A pulpit being a raised platform or lectern from which a preacher delivers a sermon. I think a game, especially a role-playing game, can have considerable amount.
To a certain extent, I feel like, yeah, this all sounds like easy common sense stuff, but let's not forget that sometimes it's as basic as like, what are human rights, and stuff like that, and we're dealing with that in the real world. There are times where there is an obvious yes correct answer versus no, I'm the main character and nobody else matters, where it would be truly like a psychopath. At what point are you forced then to make an RPG that appeals to that, right? Like, there are only so many. It's the design budget discussion. You can only have so many branching paths about, like, what if the player is completely individualistic and wants do they care about any of the other races in your fantasy medieval game or whatever, that has no connection to the real world, but they already don't like them or something. It's like, yeah, there's a limit. At what point does it leave like we disagree on the pizza topping stuff and not human rights, right?
To say by examining what the player brings to the equation and players asking themselves what kind of character and what kind of player they are when confronted with a situation that's not clearly black and white. That is the magic trick of writing politics in video games. It is maintaining the illusion that the player doesn't know what the writers think or believe, that you're not being dragged to what the writers think is the correct position to have. And no game does this better than our last example, Fallout New Vegas. When it comes to writing politics in video games, this is the king. Think about this. New Vegas is written so fucking well. You can be convinced to support slavery and genocide as morally virtuous. God, I love New Vegas. Ugh.
Smell that air!
So, the premise of...
Sure, I mean, this is the issue with reducing things to like survival and the apocalypse and stuff, right? Because that's the whole deal. Whether it's zombies, whether it's nuclear fallout and stuff like that, it becomes like, oh, well, you need to do this in order to survive, and it's just about, you're asking people what they would do. So once the zombie apocalypse happens, and it's like, oh, well, I'd go back to hunt and gathering, and then I would kill every single person, other person on site, because it's only about me. Well, actually, I need to make some sort of society. So how would you trust people, and how would you assign their roles and what they're good at versus what they are skilled at? What are they interested in? So I mean, sure, this is what I was talking about before about like, slavery and sexism or whatever. It's like, oh, well, once the population from the apocalypse is low enough, you literally need women to become the birthing brood mothers, and the men are the strong warriors to defend your tribe. It's like, yeah, the situation has already been set up to the extreme because of the apocalypse. We don't live in an apocalypse. Well, I mean, kind of climate change, whatever, but like, but because of the discussions that we're having in the real world now with neo-Nazis and shit, we are not in the apocalypse. So why do they need to act as if the situation is there? That's the whole like, white people are becoming the minority, and there's the minorities. They're like cockroaches. They're reproducing too fast, and now they're out reproducing us. It's like, yeah, there are people who are arguing that right now. And thinking it's the apocalypse, and you don't need to resort to something this crazy, but I don't know, you're just not able to, you cannot appeal to them in all of your games and all of your stories. Yeah, there's a point where you cannot make it so that every single viewpoint is just as valid. Haha. Yeah, Fallout gets away with it because of the apocalypse angle. That's basically what I'm getting at.
New Vegas is that nuclear warfare has devastated the world, but Las Vegas has remained as one of the major strongholds that represents a society that has lived above anarchy. Problem is, multiple factions seek power, leadership, and rule of the game's central hub, the New Vegas Strip. The main quest of the protagonist, the Courier, you, revolves around which political regime you decide to help and install as the new superpower of Vegas. And it's up to the various NPCs and leaders to convince each individual player that, NCR is the best choice. No, Caesar's Legion will be the strongest, but Mr. House is already familiar. Fuck it, let's choose anarchy. That's why this game works so well. Because, you know, obviously slavery is bad.
Yeah. Again, the politics in that everything is just as viable game design is that you again the whole communism bad, and like the Last of Us TV series or whatever, about like even the NCR being like the lesser of some of these evils, but they're like an incompetent rotting bureaucracy or whatever, right? It's like, yeah, the game had to write it like that so that the other options are still somewhat valid. A game couldn't show you a functioning communistic, socialistic group society for working towards a greater good and not like hyper individualism tearing things apart, all power to me, the main character, anarchy sort of thing. God, and people are gonna get into either there's a guy who's in my Twitch community who's like, every time I bring up anarchy, it's gonna be about like a lack of hierarchy is all that is. So I mean, I'm going off of the chaos term, not about the specific ideology thing. So I mean, yeah, it's the framing of the question, like, oh, these options are bad. You can never show the good option, because then that would go back to what he was talking about earlier with like, oh wait, you're not even questioning. You've already decided the best option. There's no choice for the player, and then now you're gonna preach at me. It's like, when would it be right to do that though? Because yeah, how do you not just play every side as the fence sitter, stuff like that? Oh, here in my game about the age of consent, I've got to show that it's actually wrong to set it at 18. It's like, no, you'd be seen as like a freak if you did this. You can't play all these sides.
I just hate slavery so much. If I could go back in time and undo slavery, I would.
However, the issue of a nation and world devastated by nuclear fallout presents an unprecedented series of circumstances. The world is in chaos right now. Society has essentially...
Right, so this is what I said earlier about, like, it's the apocalypse. So yeah, that's your excuse. Eventually you would need to make a stand when it is no longer so desperate. It's the Frostpunk, right? This is literally what people use as their excuse in Frostpunk, because everybody's about to die. So I have to use the child labor. I have to do these horrific things and stuff like that. Like, no, you can actually win without that on the basic difficulty, not losing a single person. So that excuse is actually them being incompetent, but whatever. Unless they're on a higher difficulty, and not everybody is. So, I mean, yeah, it's annoying to deal with games where people's arguments for some ideology is that I was forced to. It's just so difficult.
Had a factory reset. So in order to fight the growing anarchy and chaos, fear must be spread throughout the wasteland. And that is what Caesar and his legion do. That is what they epitomize. The ends justify the means. Let's look to the longest lasting civilization of human history and replicate their beliefs and their style of government.
Oh God, the amount of people that idolize the Roman culture, and yeah, it's like the good old days times a couple orders of magnitude. There's an overlap in the Roman worship and the fascists that we're dealing with nowadays. A lot of people with profile pics of like the statues, the marble statues and whatnot, that are like, oh, I just appreciate a classic traditional beauty, and then you check like their tweets or social media and it's like, oh yeah, no, they're full on fascist, hate spreading and whatever. So I mean, yeah, take some of this with many grains of salt.
I used Imperial Rome as the model for my legion precisely because it was so foreign, so alien. In Rome, I found a template for a society equal to the challenges of the post-apocalyptic world. A society that could and would survive.
In pretty much any other fictional universe, the Legion would be seen as the obvious villains. But in Fallout, the world we knew it is gone. The rules have changed. What pillar of strength does humanity fall back on when so much progress has been lost and destroyed? So reverting back to the beliefs and governance of the longest lasting civilization in human history, it's not a moral decision, it's a pragmatic one. Unite the people through force and fear, abolish the anarchy and chaos, then we can worry about human rights, maybe.
Until now, every tribe I've conquered has been so backwards and stunted, enslavement has been a gift bestowed upon them. My conquest of the Mojave will be a glorious triumph, marking the transition of the Legion from a basically nomadic tribe to a genuine empire.
Throughout the game, you'll meet NPCs who give their reasoning for why you should support one faction over the other, and vice versa. By going with Mr. House, you're sticking with the status quo. A man who has the most experience governing this area in this time, but you're also embracing a man who's unwilling to change his mind. An ancient, old, withering tycoon far removed from the daily struggles of the everyday common man. Is this guy really the best choice? He sits locked in his palace and preaches about getting humanity back on the right track, but is he only doing that for his own self-interest? Is he shrugging Atlas? Choosing Mr. House is the choice of an autocrat, the worst kind, one who can live forever with the power of technology that he hoards for himself and defend any attack on his body with robots. Big Brother is always Mr. House is always watching. That being said, he knows New Vegas better than anyone, and his robot army is certainly capable of establishing peace and order through threat of force. Lastly, the NCR is the I have hope and faith in democracy choice. A noble, relatable goal on the surface, but as time passes, you start to see all of the inefficiencies of the NCR. How quickly they're also willing to annihilate opposing factions without a second thought. Wait, what? You want me to kill the entire Brotherhood of Steel? By choosing the NCR, are you choosing something that is in the process of failing? Are you just foolishly clinging on to hope that the ways of the old world can work out here in the wasteland? All questions for you to figure out. But
there's a reason why a lot of people would agree that, like, isn't it the followers of the apocalypse or whatever, that they would be like the closest to the good guys of the factions, and just like taking care of people. It's almost socialist communist. So I mean, whatever, can't depict anybody as too good. And they're gonna use the same arguments like against like Zoran Mamdani and stuff like, oh, they're too weak, they're too inexperienced, and oh no, which is the same arguments. Oh gosh, and never mind. I'm not gonna keep. I was gonna go back into The Last of Us.
Vegas is the premier example of politics done right in video games, especially in RPGs, because we can freely discuss and debate the morality of our choices within the context of the game. I think it's important, especially for RPGs, and it would have made Veilguard better if the game lets you be a piece of shit. And that's fun. Shut up, bitch. Stop preaching morality to me. I'm role-playing as a dickhead. Each faction in New Vegas.
I mean, there are entire other video essays about just that. So not that I'm opposed to it, because unless the game has to be like honoring that, where it's like, yes, be hateful. It's that there are a lot of RPGs where there are pros and cons to being evil and selfish, hoarding power and stuff like that. And the discussion about how the gaming community usually has trouble with evil playthroughs, right? Just like Undertale genocide runs and stuff like that. Like, it's a special kind of person and maybe content creator, where specifically, like, I have my good guy run, I have my bad guy run, and I have my centrist try to do as much as possible but not picking any specific side run. It is almost like its own gimmick. And then that's just the gaming discussion, the game design discussion about like how many resources you can afford to do in branching paths all over again, right? Why would you design this thing if a lot of players aren't going to see it? But you're designing something political where you want players to explore what's acceptable and what's not. So, I mean, yeah, that's kind of that's part of the discussion. Anyways,
struggles in different ways that match the flaws of their ideology, and it really comes down to what each individual player responds and is receptive to. Do you trust in the status quo? Have faith that democracy will work? Or say fuck all that noise? Like any form of media, politics are an integral part of video games. But nobody wants politics to be an integral part of every video game. You can find deeper meaning if you look for it, but thank you, Nintendo, for letting me wash goop off the walls without preaching to me about the negative effects of climate change. Yes, thank you, Fallout New Vegas, for letting me roleplay as a terrible person without feeling like one in the real world. Politics in video games is not a matter of making a statement, but rather, as Andrew Ryan put it, asking a question. So, is all art political? No. Art is what you make of it. Art is not what you see, it's what you make others see. Thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. Leave a like if you did, and don't forget to subscribe to the Actman for more awesome content. Thanks to all my supporters on Patreon. I love you so much. If you want to support the channel, that's a great way to do it. We covered a lot of territory in this video, so let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments below. Alright everyone, that's all I got for today. This is the Actman signing out. Peace!
Alright, so I mean, yeah, I think decent discussion. Probably should have expected the sort of centrism. Yeah, like I said, don't want to piss off maybe the right-wing crazies and stuff like that. There are videos I believe I've seen recommended about, like, yeah, the woke games. I think he's done one as well. So maybe, I mean, this is 9 months ago, and yeah, because of real world family stuff going on and jobs, like, yeah, I'm obviously way behind. But I mean, if since then he's probably criticized, yeah, look, there's like live service. Oh, that's years ago. AI corporations. I believe I saw maybe a thumbnail, maybe from him or somebody else. But yeah, there are videos that go more into the whole like woke gaming lists and all that. But maybe they only question extremism. But yeah, I mean, I expected that level, perhaps, and it's a little bit of just like, I'm enjoying the experience and it's art, and separate art from the artist and your interpretation of politics or the setting of the game and story. You know, I think he's trying not to piss people off, but yeah, I mean, context, a lot's maybe gotten worse in 9 months. The what's acceptable and how blatant some of the horrific right-wingers are, the power they have, more business corporation decisions. I don't know if he's altered more in that time frame, but I think I've already dragged this out long enough. For a 35-minute video, I guess I think I'm on par to, like, roughly, yeah, somewhere double the length of videos whenever I do these reaction deep dives. But well, hopefully some of this was enlightening, showing that what I can predict from of what other people think is the discussion. Yeah, see you guys around.